And I worry about him a lot, but I know he was saved.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been praying about wanting Jesus to let me know if it's something he wanted me to do, I'd do anything he wanted me to.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't got an answer about it yet.
I think you got your answer. Because usually when Christ does that, if he appears and he holds his arms out to you, he wants you to become like him. He wants you to love others like he loves them. That really is what that means lots of times. It isn't that he's calling you home. It's he's calling you to be like him. In other words, if he's saying, what do you want me to do? And he's like this. If he's like that, he's saying, reach out to others and love others for me. It's a very simple task to do. But don't worry about your son. Number one, how old was he when he passed away? Well, he's not anymore. He looks probably like he's in his 20s, and if there was things he'd like to do in heaven, he's probably doing them, enjoying himself, getting gifts for you when you get there, making sure that everything's perfect in your mansion, and he's making a list of places to take you, so you don't need to worry about him anymore. You just need to be excited for him. And just love people for him. I tell people, love people for Christ. If you don't know your specific calling, do what it says. Love God and love others. And if you're doing those two things, you're not going to miss what he wants you to do.
Do you have a question?
I'm Lauren. Kat, you said something the other day, and it really made me kind of ponder. You were talking about Marissa passing away, and you made the statement, you said that God showed you that he said, I did not take her. This happened. And I frequently tell people, God is God. He allows anything. He prevents anything.
That's right.
So, we don't want to be out from under his protective umbrella, of course, and we do have free will. But ultimately, we have to believe that he is God, and when it's our time, he'll take us, and if it's not our time, we won't go yet. And so when you said that, it kind of threw me just a little bit.
What I meant is he did not cause her death. In other words, he didn't have her hit the tree in the ski accident. He didn't cause that. In other words, he doesn't put diseases on people to kill them. And he doesn't have accidents happen so that they'll die. That's what I meant. When he said, let her know I didn't cause her death, I did not just randomly take her away from her mother. But he knew that she would die on that day, and he did have to decide, and you do have to understand and be willing to understand this, that he and he alone has the keys to hell, death, and the grave. And Satan can't just kill people and send them to hell. He can try to kill people. He can try to cause their death. But ultimately, because Christ has the keys, people literally cannot just die unless he allows it, especially if they belong to him. If they belong to him, Satan can't just kill people and send them up into eternity. Because he has the keys to hell, death, and the grave. He has the right to that decision, and you're right. Ultimately, he makes that choice. Now, sometimes he gives people a choice. Sometimes he will actually ask them, do you want to go back? And I can tell you from being there, it would be almost impossible to not want to stay there when you're with him. It is the most glorious thing that you are so totally completed and you really are home. You don't want to leave that and come back here. Besides the fact that he actually shows people the will for their family members' lives. So they actually have a peace. That they actually know what's going on in this earth. And it's not like, well, I don't care about my parents, I'm just going to go. But when you're in his presence and he has something for you to do that's there, you want to do it. Lots of times he doesn't necessarily give them a choice because he does have something. Your work is done here. It says once you die, your work is done. You can work no longer. That means you can't win souls for the kingdom. Okay, once you die, you can't be down here witnessing. You can't do that kind of work. He calls that work for him. You're getting harvest to take to heaven with you by winning souls. But you have assignments in heaven that are the most amazing things, and some of them are ways to honor you when you get there. You still do stuff when you get there, but it's not like hard work or labor. And he had a thing for her to do, and that was to get all the youth together in heaven to plan their part in the celebration of the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he knew that that day would come when he would need someone to be in charge of that. So he looked through all eternity. He knew Marissa's life, what she would have already done for him by the age of 13. He knew the day that accident would happen. He said, I'm going to choose her to honor her with that position in heaven. So when she died, instead of allowing her to be healed and remain here, he needed her for that position, and he wanted to honor her. And her whole life, she wanted to be a youth leader. She was being trained and prepared to be a youth leader, and she's a youth leader in heaven. And her mom was blessed beyond reason. She still missed her, but she was blessed beyond anything you can imagine to think that all through eternity, her daughter was chosen for such a high position in heaven, to be trusted to get all the youth there and plan what they were going to do for the marriage supper of the Lamb. So ultimately he does, but what I meant was he does not cause the death itself. But when someone's time is up, no matter how old you are, your time is up, and your place is ready in heaven.
My mother passed away when she was 90. She had congestive heart failure, and she was a wonderful Christian. She always prayed prayers of intercession for us, always read her Bible. But my sister was just, and we were always concerned about my father's, his place of salvation with the Lord, because, you know, he had made a comment to my sister, so we were always praying for him, but we did know when his time was up that he went to be with the Lord, just because of things that the Lord allowed us to do. Mm-hmm. But with our mom, my sister was always more concerned than me, because I always said, well, I know she's with the Lord, but she had heard, after my mom had passed, she said that she thought she heard her, like call out for her, and she said it was so real. And she said, you know, Mother, I'm here. And she said she heard other voices like they were taking her away or something. Mm-hmm. And that just concerned her. Also, before she passed, you know, she was in the hospital a lot, and she did cuss a little bit, and she used to never cuss or anything. And she would wake up, and she would be yelling out, oh, a lot when she slept. Mm-hmm. In a negative way, scary way. Mm-hmm. So we just were concerned about that, because she was such a wonderful Christian, mm-hmm. and you always hear about other people saying, it's so beautiful and all that, and she didn't do that. So can you explain maybe that?
I can explain it. Number one, when people get really, really, really old, they begin to regress, even in their natural mind. I don't know, I'm humming. In their natural mind. And it's just one of the things that happens when you get old. Dementia sets in. You forget things. If you're a believer, that's not going to wipe out your salvation. It's totally not going to wipe it out. And the whole thing with the sister thing, that could have totally been the enemy. It probably was the enemy, because if someone's concerned about something like that, he'll make sure that he has things like that happen. I mean, spirits can do all kinds of things like that. And like women who've had abortions, this is a good example. That this one woman I met had 5 abortions. She had given her heart to the Lord, got married, had 3 children living here, had repented for the abortions, but the enemy would let her hear children crying and screaming at night, and he would tell her, those are your children you killed. Now, do you think that was God? Do you think it was the babies? No, it's the same thing with your sister. It wasn't your mom, okay? And my grandma, this is also a good example about the cuss word every now and then, is they remember things from their past sometimes, maybe not stuff they did or said, but when their mind starts to go, they'll act up. They'll act like kids sometimes, not very nice kids sometimes. My grandma's 100. Most of the time she's very livid, but sometimes she'll bite my mom or kick my mom or say things that aren't nice, and she loves Jesus. That doesn't mean she's not a Christian. That means her mind is going, she just needs to go home real soon and go be with God. But it's almost like someone who loved God and then somehow got mentally challenged. And sometimes they may have fits things. It's a natural thing that happens in their body. God isn't going to hold that against them. It's something from the age that's happening to their mind. So that's all that was, okay? But the thing about your sister, I'm absolutely positive that was the enemy. And the lady got set free from that whole thing with the grief. She named all of her babies in heaven, and we celebrated. And from this day, she has never had that experience again. God doesn't bring sorrowful things to you like that. It's always going to be the enemy tormenting.